Hello, today is April 11th, 2021. My name is Eladio Tejada. I'm interviewing Milka Rangel for the University Library Special Collections and Archives at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, herefore abbreviated as UTRGV. This project is partnership with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know, Ms. Rangel, that this interview will be placed in the University Library Special Collections and Archives at UTRGV and shared with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. If there's anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there is anything you want to talk about, please bring it up and we'll talk about it. The University Library's Special Collections and Archives will archive your video along with any other photographs or any other documentation you are willing to share. The TRGV University Library will retain copyright and non-exclusive right to the interview and any other materials you donate to the Special Collections and Archives at UTRGV. Because we are conducting this interview in person, I'm sorry, because we are not, I need to record you consenting to make sure that you agree with our interview procedures before we continue. So I'll ask you a series of 6 questions. Please say, yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each question. Do you give University Library Special Collections and Archives at UTRGV consent to archive your interview and your materials at the UTRGV University Library?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, thank you. Do you grant UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives right, title, and interest in copyright over the interview and any materials you provide?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree to allow UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives to post this interview on the internet where it might be viewed by people around the world?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Do you grant the University Library Special Collections and Archives consent to share your Zoom interview with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin for inclusion in the Voices of Pandemic Oral History mini project, which will include posting the video on the interview on the internet? I'm sorry.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, thank you. As you recall, we previously filled out a pre-interview form. We use information from the pre-interview form to help in research. The entire form is kept in secure Voces server at the University of Texas at Austin. Before Voces sends it to you, TRGV University Library, Special Collections and Archives, we would have stripped out any contact information for yourself or family members. So that will not be part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at UTRGV University Library. The final 2 questions ask for your consent on what I just described. Do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in public file available to the researchers at UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And on occasion, UTRGV Special Collections and Archives and bosses receive requests from journalists who wish to contact their interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Do you give consent for us to share your phone numbers or email with journalists?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you for your consent. Your experiences and stories mean a lot to us at UTRGV Special Collections and Archives. I look forward to what you have to say in the interview questions I will not ask. Now, what do you do as a profession?
I am a teacher.
Oh, that's nice. And what do you teach?
I teach Spanish and ESL.
Okay, and what grade do you teach?
I teach at a middle school, but I do teach all levels. I get students from 6th to 8th grade.
Okay, that's nice. How long have you been teaching?
I've been a teacher for 5 years, and I worked those 5 years in that same district.
Okay, and what district is that, if you don't mind me asking?
I work at Lyford CISC in Lyford, Texas. It's a really small district in the valley.
Okay, so would you say that it's a lot of kids that you have, or what is the amount of kids you have on average per class?
Per class, I would say I have around 22 to 25 students.
Okay, and how are you interacting with kids as of now?
Um, right now, we have some students are doing online classes and some students are going face to face. They are in person. So we do have both students and we have both types of classes.
Okay, And how are you? How's it going in school now compared to when the pandemic first started?
Well, when the pandemic first started, I think it was very new for everybody, so it was a challenge to make sure that all students had internet and they had a device and they were able to access the material and the assignments compared to now where students know where they're supposed to be. Everybody has a device, everybody has internet access, and students, they have the opportunity to choose if they want to do online or if they want to come in person, where when the pandemic started everybody was doing online classes.
Okay, that's it's good to hear that now they have a choice where a lot of students just have to have that in-person contact, the one-on-one, or that classroom time in order to learn, or just they're on-hand learners. Um, Now, when the pandemic first started, I know a lot of professors, not just teaching, started working from home. Was it a challenge working from home for you?
I think that it was very new. I had never worked from home. Being a teacher, I always had to be there with the students, so it was very different to have them through Zoom, to not be able for them, to give them the work or to give them paper, but now we had to transition into everything was online, to learn all these new programs and to for them as well, so they know how to work the iPad and to get all the work. So it was a challenge, and I'm sure it was a challenge for the students as well. But we managed. We finished the year, and we are about to finish a second year doing this. So yeah, we managed. So we're doing okay.
So you said that this is the second year. How long did you work from home?
When the pandemic started last year, we went to completely online right after spring break. So around March, we finished the year with only online. So that went all the way through June. And then we did offer summer school online as well. So that took all June. So I would say I was doing working from home or doing only online classes from March to June.
Okay. What about at the beginning of the year? Did you guys went straight to the school, or did you work at home? Anything?
This year we started with only online classes. We were like that for the first 6 weeks. So the first month and a half, we were only having online classes. All students were working from home. Um, Teachers, we were going into school, but students went from home. And then the year as the year progressed, I the students were able to choose if they wanted to continue doing online learning or if they wanted to come in person for face-to-face instructions. So as the year has gone by, we've been getting more and more students coming for in-person instruction.
Okay. Now, a little off topic, or more on a personal note, do you miss working from home?
um, I do. I miss being home, and I miss not having to commute and then to just being here at home. But I think that we are doing better at school. I think that we are being more productive, and I think that the students are feeling a little more comfortable being back into school and into following their regular schedule. So they feel like it's getting back to normal.
Okay. And now you're saying that, everything's going back to normal. I'm not sure if you know, but there's more variants of the COVID coming out. And as a teacher, are you worried about the new COVID variants becoming known as the schools start to fully open?
I think that at a certain level we are, but we are following all the safety guidelines. We're making sure that the students are keeping their distance, that they're wearing their masks at all time. We are using dividers in the classroom so to make sure that the students are not touching each other or they're not touching each other's belongings. We do disinfect the classrooms, the desks. So I think that having all these guidelines and all these protocols for them to follow, I think that that's helped to for teachers and even for students to feel a little more comfortable when they're in the classroom.
Right, of course. Now, apart from your teaching, apart from your teaching duties, do you partake in any other activities, such as UIL, any sports, or anything like that, any chess?
Yes, I am the cheer sponsor for the middle school, and I also do UIL for Spanish auto reading. Being a Spanish teacher, I do music memory and art smart. Um, and I'm also the ESL instructor, so I also do a lot of tutoring and a lot of help with those students.
Okay. You do, input a lot of hours as teams. Would What would you say has been the most challenging part during the pandemic for you personally?
Personally, I think the most challenging part has been um, keeping up with all the changes. There has been a lot of changes at school where we had to transition into new programs, and we even had to take on extra duties to make sure that the students are getting all the information and all the content that they need. We have also been asked to help with meal distribution. So I think that having all this going on at work, it's very hard to keep it all from the personal life. So I think that's a challenge, being able to divide both and to make sure to keep work at work, and then when I come home to enjoy the family and I have to worry about everything that's going on at work.
Yeah, of course, that's understandable. Going into that, as someone being around so many kids or even teachers, other school staff, do you fear, you might contract COVID and maybe take it over to a family member?
I think that that's always a fear for everybody, not only for teachers, but I think that because of all the safety guidelines that we have at school, everything that the students have to follow and the teachers have to follow, being keeping the distance, making sure that they are disinfecting, that the kids are washing their hands, that they're not touching each other. I think that having all these safety guidelines um, helps us teachers feel a little more comfortable and not have to worry too much about um, getting COVID and then taking it home.
Oh, but that's good to hear, that they're trying their very best to keep it as contained as possible. Now, do you have a partner?
I do. I am married. I've been married for about 2 years.
Oh, congratulations. And did your husband or your partner, did they work from home at the same time that you did?
Yes, especially at the beginning when the pandemic started, and we had to transition into online only. I was teaching from home, and he had to move to working from home as well. So there was a period of time that we were both working from home.
Okay. Did your partner working from home or your husband working at the same time, did that affect your teaching in any way?
I don't think so. We are blessed to have two extra rooms, so we were able to each have a room and have our working station there and make sure that we had settled and everything was set up. So I think that helped. We just have to be make sure that we were not being disruptive to the other person, and just keep in mind with the schedules, and to make sure that we were not being too loud when the other person, or when I was teaching, or when he was taking calls.
Okay, that's understandable. With everything you're saying with learning new technologies, having to take on extra duties at school, having to basically walk around eggshells at home because you don't want to interrupt your husband's work. Um, did that affect the way you see your career now?
I think that it has been a challenge. It's definitely been a lot of new stuff, but I think that it also helped me realize how the role teachers have, and how important they are, and to be able to help the students not only at school, not only with their content and with their learning, but also making sure that they had internet and making sure that they had a meal. So I think that also taking all these other duties helped me realize how important teachers are, and I think that was very rewarding.
Okay, so would you say that the pandemic pushed you closer or further away from your career?
I would say closer. So even though it was a challenge, and it was a lot of new things that we had to adapt and we had to do during the pandemic. I think that it did push me closer, and now I know that if I can teach during pandemic, I can teach during a regular school year.
Okay, well that's good. So would you say that as a teacher, maybe you improved your, or did you learn any new skills?
Um, I would say so. I think that the main one being all the new technology that we had to use, all these new programs and new apps. Just Google Classroom alone, learning how to use the Google Classroom so we can help the students to make sure that they can access and they can submit their work. So learning all
Right.
these technology was very important.
Yeah, of course. And I think a lot of people, had to learn all this new technology, especially soon. It became very, very important during this pandemic. What about personally? Do you think, away from your teaching career, would you say that you personally learned a new, uh, new, how would I say it? I'm sorry. Say you learn a new skill, or maybe, attained a new hobby?
Um, yes, I think that being at home allowed me to, for one, something that I really enjoy doing is reading. So catching up on my reading and being able to just sit and read a book again. That was something nice during the pandemic. Um, I also was able to buy a cricket machine, so I think that being at home and learning how to use it and creating all these new designs, I think that was something nice to
Oh,
do
right.
during the pandemic.
Right, of course, yeah. A little extra hobby. I heard that crickets are, kind of like more artsy and stuff like that. So that's good to hear. Um, Now, you say, what, like, I know that you had a lot of challenges. Um, I'm sure that the students as well had a lot of challenges, especially, making sure they had internet access, that they had a computer and stuff like that. I've heard, or, it's been on the news, it's been everywhere, that a lot of kids have been stressed out with the pandemic and trying to learn. Do you guys at school do anything extra to make the students feel safe and comfortable so that the stress doesn't affect their learning?
Yes, I think that just as as us as teachers and adults, um, the students are struggling and they're having to learn all this new technology and all new programs, and
Right.
we absolutely understand if they feel overwhelmed or they feel stressed, so we are providing them with extra time to complete the assignments. We also provide them with the recordings of the lesson in case they had any questions or they just want to go back and rewatch or they're not sure about something. They do have access to all of this. We also make sure that they have someone to talk to. So the counselor has been great during the pandemic. I know that she has sessions with them, weekly sessions with them, and just making sure that they know that they have someone talk to, not only academically but also, just to talk to about how they're feeling or if they need anything. We are trying to make sure that they can talk not only to teachers but also to the counselor or administrators.
Of course, well, that's good to hear. They have a way to de-stress. Now, we personally never know what's going to happen, or as a teacher, you're never going to know what they're going through at home. Um, do you have any hardships, or with parents, or as a teacher, are the parents understanding towards you?
I think for the most part, parents are understanding of the situation. I think that the biggest hardship for parents, for teachers, and for students has been attending class and completing assignments. So most of the parents are very involved in the students' education, but I think that there's a few parents where we really have to, or we struggle to get in contact with, but we are
Okay.
trying to have that mutual or that relationship with parents to make sure that the students are completing the work and they are attending class.
I see. So would you say that you contact parents frequently?
Yes, we do. We have their email. We have the phone numbers. We also use Remind, which is a an app that allows us to send announcements to them, and then we can also have a one-to-one conversation, and it's very like texting, so it is easier for us teachers and for them as parents to just send a quick text or send a message through Remind, and just to make sure that the student is in class, or if they're missing something we can just send that to them through Remind. We don't have to wait till after school and then call all the parents. We can just send a quick Remind text or an announcement for everybody.
Okay, I see. So would you say that this helped you out not only in your teaching, but with the extra stuff that you do, UIL, cheerleader, you running when I don't know what you guys call them, the trainings or the meetups for cheerleader. Would you say that helped you out a lot with that?
Yes, definitely. We use Remind not only for our classes, but we also use it for all these extra stuff that we do. Yeah, I have a Remind for cheer, so it is a lot easier now that some girls are face to face and some are online. We can just send an announcement for everybody, and that way we don't have to communicate one on one. We can just send that announcement to everybody.
Okay, I see. So now that you brought that up, where you have girls online and you have girls in person for cheer, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
How would you guys do it, for an event where I'm sure a lot of some parents, within some of the girls' parents must have that where they don't want their child to go to school because they can contract COVID. How would you guys, deal with that in the events? Because I'm sure, at least from what I remember, if you're participating in an extracurricular activity and you're not showing up, they're gonna end up kicking you out or something like that. How do you guys deal with that?
Well, cheer happens during football season, which is like the beginning of the year. So when we started when we started all the cheer practices and everything, a lot of the girls were still doing online learning,
Okay.
and we had to provide a a hybrid practice. So we had some girls in class or some girls, face to face, and some were joining the Zoom and they had to do the practice through the Zoom. So we just had to be able to see them to make sure that they were practicing. And then if we had any announcements, we would let them know before the Zoom ended. And then again, that Remind app, we would just send them a remind. And that's how we were communicating with them. They did have the option of not attending a game.
Okay.
but practice was still mandatory because of the Zoom option.
Oh, I see. I see. So the only way they could really get penalized is if they didn't attend the Zoom meeting or they didn't go personally
Yes,
to the
and
trainings and stuff like that.
if they still didn't feel comfortable to go to the games, then they could opt out of a game.
Oh, okay. I see. Well, that's good. What about UIL? Because from my knowledge, UIL is mostly a competition between students, you know, competing in certain areas. Am I right?
Yes.
How would you do that? How did you guys take care of that?
Well, this year for UIL, we had a virtual UIL, so it kind of worked the same way. The students had to join a Zoom. They would have to follow a link, and they would submit their answers through a Google form,
Okay.
and that's how they were graded. They were also, I know in UIL we also have the speaking events. So before the meet, we had to record the to record them with the poem or whatever it was they were competing. We will record it, we will upload it, and then that's how they were judged, and then that's how they were placed.
I see. So now you're saying that you know that you will record the students. Did you guys all meet up at school or would you guys do this from home?
For us, we met at school, and that's how we did it for the most part. But the students also had the option to just join the Zoom from home.
Okay.
And I know a lot of schools, that's how they were doing it. They were just doing it from home. We just felt more comfortable having them at school and helping them through to log in into the Zoom and then complete the Google form, and making sure that they were at the right event at the right time. But they did have the option to join from home through a Zoom meeting.
I see. And that all these, you know, cheerleading UIO, and I'm sure other teachers, you know, do other stuff because there's a lot more clubs. Um, as I could see, there is a lot of extra duties for duties that you already did. So, you know, it's just a lot of extra measures that you have to take, a lot of extra responsibilities, making sure that the students are safe as well as you. Um, do you think, you know, going away from, you know, the students and all that, more into your career, do you think that the profession is less desired now due to the, you know, the conflicts or the extra duties that there have been adding? Because I'm sure you've heard that around, you know, nationwide in the US and maybe in other countries as well, there has been a lot of conflict between, you know, the teachers and how they're either overrated or underrated. Do you think that the profession is less desired now?
I think that it has 100% been a challenge, and I see how a lot of people can see it as, not desire. We are doing a lot for the same pay, or we're just working more because we are following all these new guidelines, and because we're having to pick up all these new duties. But I think that teachers, or if you're going to the teaching field, is because you really love working with students. So I think that also being able to help them through these challenges, and to making sure that they're doing okay, to just providing them a meal, making sure that if they are at home, that they still have access to education, and they still have access to internet, and that they are being fed. So even though we do have all these challenges, I think that looking at the bigger picture, we are being rewarded, and I think that being able to do all this for our students it's a lot more important than having a few extra duties.
Okay, I see. Well, that's good to hear, you know, from your perspective. Um, now, sorry about that. Okay, now, you know, I really do appreciate your questions, but now this question is completely optional. You do not have to answer it, but do you have a personal story, whether it's positive or negative, as to how you like something that happened at school that you remember about the pandemic, whether it
Um,
had to do with the student, maybe in your personal life, anything like that.
I think that um, personally, I think that having contracted COVID really opened my perspective about the situation and really made me realize how serious and how important it was for us to follow the safety guidelines and to make sure that we were being safe because it is a serious a serious problem. It is a serious disease. I think that you really get sick. So I think that going through it and experience it, it really helped me realize how how important it was for us to follow all of these guidelines, and then for me to take it to work and make sure that the students were following all these guidelines because we obviously don't want them to get COVID or to get sick.
Of course, of course. Now, I just want to thank you for your time, with this interview. I'm glad that you're doing better now, having contracted COVID. And now, before I do let you go, I got one more question. Do you have any advice to new teachers starting during the pandemic?
I think just for them to be open minded, to to be ready to adapt, because even veteran teachers, when this whole pandemic started, we all had to change the way we were teaching. We all had to move into this new online platforms and this new
Of course.
online learning. So I think as a new teacher, especially, they have to be open to the help, to criticism, and open to change.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, and I really do appreciate your answers. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye bye.